When I handed Marcus my wedding vows and watched him read them out loud in front of 200 guests, his face went from joy to pure terror in 3 seconds flat. What he didn't know was that those weren't my real vows. They were my revenge, perfectly crafted to expose the filthy secret he thought he'd hidden from me forever. Before I dive into how I orchestrated the most satisfying moment of my life, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. Hit that like button, and if you're new here, subscribe, because trust me, you'll want to hear more stories about standing up for yourself when it matters most. Now, let me take you back to how this all began. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 28 years old, and until 12 hours before my wedding day, I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. I woke up that Saturday morning in the bridal suite of the Grandview Hotel with butterflies dancing in my stomach and sunlight streaming through the curtains like a scene from a fairy tale. After 3 years with Marcus, 2 years engaged, and months of planning every detail, this was supposed to be the most perfect day of my life. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a text from Marcus. "Can't wait to marry you today, beautiful. You're going to be the most stunning bride." I smiled, my heart swelling with that warm, fuzzy feeling that still hit me every time he said something sweet. But then I noticed something strange. His phone was sitting right there on my nightstand, next to mine. He must have left it when he came to kiss me goodnight. We decided to stay in separate rooms the night before, following that old tradition about not seeing each other before the ceremony. The screen lit up with a notification, and then another, and another. I wasn't the type to snoop through anyone's phone, but something about the rapid-fire notifications at 7 a.m. on our wedding day made my stomach twist. Marcus was probably still asleep in his room down the hall. Who was texting him so early? My hands were shaking as I picked up his phone. The messages were from Rachel, my sister Rachel. "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. I know today is your wedding, but I had to tell you how I feel. What we did, it felt so right. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry." The phone slipped from my hands and clattered onto the marble floor. I stared at it like it was a venomous snake, my brain refusing to process what I'd just read. Rachel, my little sister, the maid of honor who'd been helping me get ready for months, the sister who'd held my hair when I was sick, who'd borrowed my clothes, who'd been my closest confidant my entire life. With trembling fingers, I picked up the phone again and scrolled up through their conversation. The messages went back hours, starting around 2 a.m. Marcus, "We shouldn't have done that." Rachel, "But we did, and it was amazing." Marcus, "Sarah can never know." Rachel, "I know, but Marcus, I think I'm falling for you." Marcus, "Don't say that. I'm marrying your sister in a few hours." Rachel, "Then why did you come to my room? Why did you kiss me first?" I had to run to the bathroom. Everything I'd eaten in the past 24 hours came up in violent waves as the reality crashed over me. My fiancé, my sister, the night before my wedding. The bathroom mirror reflected a ghost of the glowing bride I'd been 10 minutes earlier. My face was pale, my eyes were red, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. In 6 hours, I was supposed to walk down that aisle and promise to love, honor, and cherish a man who had just betrayed me in the worst possible way. But as I stared at my reflection, something shifted inside me. The devastation was still there, burning in my chest like acid. But underneath it, something else was growing, something cold and calculating and powerful. Marcus thought he could have his cake and eat it too. He thought he could sleep with my sister and then marry me like nothing happened. He thought I was stupid, naive, trusting Sarah who would never find out. Well, he was about to learn just how wrong he was. I walked back to the bedroom and picked up my laptop. I had vows to rewrite. The original vows I'd written for Marcus were beautiful. 3 pages of heartfelt promises about growing old together, supporting each other's dreams, and building a family filled with love and trust. I'd spent weeks crafting every word, making sure they captured exactly how I felt about our future together. Now, those words made me sick. I opened a new document and started typing. If Marcus wanted to play games, I'd show him what a real player looked like. He was going to read these vows out loud, in front of everyone we knew, without having any idea what was coming. The new vows started sweetly, exactly like he'd expect. But buried in the romantic language were landmines that would detonate one by one, revealing his betrayal to every single person in that church. A knock on my door interrupted my typing. "Sarah? Honey, it's Mom. The hair and makeup team are here. I quickly saved the document and closed the laptop. Coming, Mom. The next 4 hours were torture. My mother, my bridesmaids, and the beauty team all fluttered around me, chattering about how beautiful everything looked, how perfect the weather was, how lucky I was to have found such a wonderful man. Rachel arrived an hour later with the biggest smile I'd ever seen on her face. She hugged me tight, and I had to fight every instinct not to shove her away. You look absolutely glowing, she said, adjusting my veil. Marcus is going to die when he sees you. Oh, he's definitely going to have a strong reaction, I said, forcing a smile. She kept talking about the bachelor and bachelorette parties from the night before, how much fun everyone had, how she'd gotten back to the hotel so late and was exhausted. Every word was a lie wrapped in sisterly concern, and I marveled at how easily the deception rolled off her tongue. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. T-2 hours, my love. I'm the luckiest man alive. I typed back, you have no idea what's coming. He responded with heart emojis. The photographer arrived and started snapping pictures of me in my dress, a stunning ivory gown with intricate beadwork that had cost more than my car. I smiled and posed, playing the part of the blissful bride while my mind ran through every detail of what was about to happen. Let's get some shots with the maid of honor, the photographer said. Rachel slipped her arm around my waist, and we posed together like we had 1,000 times growing up. The camera clicked away, capturing what would be the last photos of us as sisters before everything exploded. I'm so happy for you, Sarah, she whispered in my ear. You deserve all the happiness in the world. The irony was so thick, I almost laughed out loud. My phone timer went off. 1 hour until showtime. I excused myself to the bathroom and pulled up the vows I'd rewritten. They were perfect, a masterpiece of hidden meaning and delayed revelation. Marcus would start reading them, thinking they were about love and commitment, but by the end, everyone in that church would know exactly what kind of man he really was. I printed 2 copies, one for me to hold and one that I'd hand to Marcus at the altar. The paper felt like it was burning in my hands. Sarah, my mother called. It's time to go to the church. I took one last look in the mirror. The woman staring back at me looked like a bride, but her eyes held secrets that would change everything in the next hour. Marcus had made his choice last night. Now it was time for him to face the consequences. The church looked like something out of a magazine. White roses and baby's breath decorated every pew. Candles flickered along the aisle, and sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, painting everything in ethereal colors. 200 of our closest friends and family members filled the seats, all dressed in their finest, all here to witness what they thought would be the beginning of our happily ever after. If only they knew. I stood at the back of the church with my father, watching Marcus take his place at the altar. He looked devastatingly handsome in his black tuxedo, his dark hair perfectly styled, his smile radiant as he looked down the aisle waiting for me. For a split second, my resolve wavered. This was the man I'd loved for 3 years, the man I'd planned to spend my life with. But then I saw Rachel take her place as maid of honor, smoothing down her burgundy dress and smiling at Marcus with a look that was far too intimate for a sister-in-law to be. The wedding march began to play. Ready, sweetheart? My father asked, squeezing my arm. More ready than I've ever been in my life, I said. We began the walk down the aisle. Every step felt like walking toward destiny. Guests turned to watch me, their faces filled with joy and anticipation. Marcus's face lit up when he saw me, and I could see tears forming in his eyes. He mouthed, "You're beautiful," as I got closer. I smiled back at him, my hand clutching the folded vows in my bouquet. The ceremony began exactly as we'd rehearsed. The pastor welcomed everyone, spoke about the sanctity of marriage, the importance of trust and fidelity in a committed relationship. The irony wasn't lost on me. Marcus's hands were warm when he took mine. His eyes never left my face as the pastor spoke about the vows we were about to exchange, promises that would bind us together for life. "Marcus," the pastor said, "would you like to share the vows you've prepared for Sarah?" This was it, the moment I'd been building toward all morning. "Actually," I said, my voice clear and steady, "I have something special planned. Marcus, I wrote my vows for you, but I'd love for you to read them to me. I want to hear how they sound in your voice." Marcus looked surprised but pleased. "That's so romantic, babe. I'd love to." I reached into my bouquet and pulled out the folded paper. My hands were remarkably steady as I handed it to him. "Take your time," I said sweetly. "Really let everyone hear every word." Marcus unfolded the paper and cleared his throat. The church fell silent except for the soft sound of the photographer's camera clicking. "My dearest Sarah," Marcus began, his voice full of emotion. "As I stand here today, looking into your eyes, I want you to know that you are the most trusting, loyal, and faithful woman I have ever known." He paused, smiling at me. The congregation murmured appreciatively. "You have always believed the best in people, especially those closest to you. You never question, never doubt, never suspect that the people you love most might betray you in the worst possible way." His smile started to falter slightly, but he continued reading. "For example, you never suspected that while you were sleeping peacefully last night, dreaming of our wedding day, I was in bed with your sister Rachel, the woman standing right beside you as your maid of honor." The words hung in the air like a bomb that hadn't exploded yet. Marcus's voice had gotten quieter, almost mechanical, as if his brain was processing the words slower than his mouth was speaking them. The congregation was dead silent. A few people shifted in their seats. Marcus looked up from the paper, his face pale. "Sarah, what?" "Keep reading," I said firmly. "You're doing beautifully." His hands were shaking now as he looked back at the paper. "You trusted me when I said I was going to bed early, but instead I went to Rachel's room where we talked about how guilty we felt, right up until the moment she kissed me, and I forgot all about the woman I was supposed to marry in the morning." A gasp rippled through the church. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Rachel had gone completely white. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper now. "You believed me when I texted you this morning about how lucky I was to marry you, never knowing that just hours before, I was telling your sister how amazing she felt in my arms." "Keep going," I said. "We're almost to the best part." Marcus's hands were trembling so violently that the paper rustled like leaves in a storm. His face had gone from pale to green, and sweat was beading on his forehead despite the cool air conditioning in the church. "Sarah, please, I can't." "Read. Every word." My voice cut through the silence like a blade. The congregation was in complete chaos now. People were whispering frantically to each other, craning their necks to get a better view, pulling out their phones. My mother looked like she was about to faint. My father's face was bright red with rage. But Rachel looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Marcus looked back at the paper with the expression of a man walking to his execution. "So, as I stand here today," he continued, his voice cracking, "I want to make you a promise, Sarah. I promise that I will never again lie to your face while sleeping with your sister behind your back. I promise that I will never again let you plan a wedding, choose a dress, and write heartfelt vows while I'm betraying you with the person you trust most in the world." Someone in the congregation shouted, "Oh my God!" Others were standing up, trying to get a better look at the drama unfolding at the altar. "And most importantly," Marcus read, tears streaming down his face now, "I promise that you will never have to wonder what kind of man you married, because after today, you're not marrying me at all." I reached out and took the paper from his shaking hands. "Thank you, Marcus," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the church's excellent acoustics. Those were exactly the vows I needed to hear. The pastor looked completely bewildered. I'm not sure how to proceed." "Oh, that's easy," I said, turning to face the congregation. "There's not going to be a wedding today, but thank you all so much for coming to witness the most public breakup in family history." The church erupted. People were shouting, crying, laughing, and recording everything on their phones. Marcus was saying my name over and over, reaching for me, but I stepped away from him. Rachel finally found her voice. "Sarah, please, let me explain." "Explain what, Rachel?" I turned to face my sister, my voice cutting through the noise. "Explain how you seduced my fiancé the night before my wedding? Explain how you were planning to stand next to me as my maid of honor, while hiding the fact that you'd slept with him hours earlier? Explain how you were going to let me marry him without ever telling me the truth." "It just happened," she cried. "We were talking and we were drinking and it just happened?" I laughed, and the sound was sharp enough to cut glass. "Rachel, you didn't trip and fall onto his dick. You made a choice. You both made choices." My mother had finally found her feet and was pushing through the crowd toward the altar. "Sarah, honey, maybe we should discuss this privately." "No, Mom, They decided to humiliate me privately. I decided to return the favor publicly. Marcus was still trying to approach me. "Sarah, please, we can work through this. It was a mistake, a horrible mistake. I love you, not her. It meant nothing. If it meant nothing, then you threw away 3 years and a marriage for absolutely nothing. Congratulations, Marcus. That makes it even worse." I gathered up my dress and walked toward the side exit of the church, but not before turning back one final time. "By the way," I called out to the stunned congregation, "the reception is still happening. The food is paid for, the bar is open, and the band is fantastic. Consider it my gift to you for witnessing the most honest wedding ceremony any of you will ever attend." As I walked out of that church, still in my wedding dress, still carrying my bouquet, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. My phone started buzzing immediately. Friends, family, people who'd seen the videos that were undoubtedly already spreading across social media. But I turned it off and kept walking. 6 months later, I moved to Seattle and started over completely. New job, new apartment, new life. Marcus tried to contact me for weeks, sending flowers, letters, showing up at my old apartment, until my father threatened to call the police. Rachel sent one text, "I'm sorry." I never responded. The video of my wedding, or non-wedding, went viral. Someone had live-streamed the whole thing, and it got picked up by news outlets as the most savage wedding revenge ever. I became a meme for a while, which was mortifying but also strangely empowering. People ask me if I regret it, if I wish I'd handled it differently, if I ever think about what might have happened if I just confronted them privately and tried to work it out. The answer is no, not for a single second. Marcus and Rachel deserved each other, and they deserved to have their betrayal exposed in front of everyone who mattered to them. They made their choices in secret, thinking they were safe in their deception. I simply brought their truth into the light. And you know what? I'm happier now than I ever was with Marcus. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, braver than I knew, and I don't need anyone who doesn't choose me every single day. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just getting even. It's becoming the person you were always meant to be. If you enjoyed this story of standing up for yourself when it matters most, make sure to subscribe for more real-life stories about finding strength in impossible situations. And remember, you're braver than you think you are.